Hello and welcome to 10 at 10. My name is Michael Ramage. I'm the director of the Cyber Education Research Center here at Murray State University, and welcome back to 10 at 10. 10 at 10 is brought to you through a partnership between Murray State University, Grow West, the Technology Council of West Kentucky, KY Innovation, and local partners, Sprocket Innovation in Paducah and the Kentucky Innovation Station in Madisonville. Welcome back to episode 226. That means it's an even episode, and we are taking a look at the news of the last few days and weeks to just see what out there can we learn? What suggestions can we find in these articles that can help us stay a little bit safer? Us, our families, our organizations, just stay a little bit safer in cyberspace. So let me dig into some of these stories. And I'll tell you, the selection of stories that I'm wanting to share today are very different than what we have shared. And what I mean by that is that some of these are just kind of, here's some trends that we've talked about on 10 at 10 and other places. And you're starting to see these play out in a couple of different ways. And the first one I want to highlight is, this comes from the Committee to Protect Journalists. And what it's talking about is a second Italian investigative journalist has been targeted with smartphone spyware. Now, this is in Italy. Maybe we don't care. But there's a couple of nuggets in this that I think are really interesting and worth you considering. First of all, there is a number of Italian journalists that were targeted. If you read through the article, it actually sounds like the Italian government might have actually done it. It was supposed to be some far-right activists, migrant rights activists, but it turns out it was they targeted some journalists as well, and it was legal. It was legally authorized, according to this article. What is important to note on this is that these journalists were in the news. These journalists were being seen and heard, and because they were making statements, they were bringing light to a bad situation, they were targeted for that. And that's what happens a lot of times. A lot of times we are targeted, or we being individuals are targeted because of something that happens. Now, are you a target? Yes, but you're a target in the sense that you're a generic, let's send out a phishing email to 50,000 people and see who clicks the link. That's the way that it typically happens. But if your name is in the news, if your name is in a press release, if you're the CEO, if you're the manager, if you're the boss that is the public eye that people see, or public person that the eye sees on the news, then you have a higher risk of being targeted. Now, maybe you're not a journalist that's bringing attention to something bad, but you may raise the interest of the bad guys and you become that target. So just be aware of that. And here's another, this is an extreme example, but recently the president's deportation airline was hacked by Anonymous. They were standing up because the president, wasn't following what they feel was the right thing to do. Whether or not it was the right thing to do, it doesn't matter to Anonymous. They are outside the law, so they can do whatever they want. But in this case, they decided to attack the website Global X Air because, in their minds, Trump was not following what the court said he had to do. And so therefore, we're just going to take the law into our own hands. Now, is that the right thing to do? Absolutely not. It's illegal. What they did, what Anonymous did, is illegal. It is absolutely 100% illegal. But the reality is they don't care. They don't care. It doesn't matter to them. They can do what they want. They make their own rules. They make their own decisions. They can do whatever it is that they want to do. And in this case, they decided to hack an airline that was related to the president. Another one, um, Cleveland, Tennessee. Let me go to this slide. Cleveland, Tennessee. Um, there was a data breach that occurred at a hospital, um, and it was a Western Carolina hospital and a Tennessee debt collection agency. They have now had their fifth federal lawsuit following their data breach. Now, lawsuit, you can sue anybody you want. It doesn't mean you're going to win. So why am I talking about this? The breach stemmed from violations of federal privacy law and guidance on cybersecurity, Long's lawyer wrote in a complaint filed on April 28th. The lawsuit alleges the hospital and the debt collector were negligent, broke implied contracts, and used profits from Long and others to enrich themselves without improving security, among the other claims. Their point in this lawsuit is that they chose to prioritize other items rather than cybersecurity. Is that their right? They can prioritize whatever they want. But what happens is that if you don't follow the best practices, if you don't follow the guidance that's out there, the industry best practices, and then you have an incident like this, then you don't have anything to fall back on. You heard me last week talking about compliance and assessing to see where your gaps are. In this case, there are best practices, there are industry frameworks that they should have followed that they did not. And because they did not, something happened. Now, is there a cause and effect? Maybe, maybe not. You've heard me say that every organization in the world is hackable. It's whether or not those low effort attacks get through. Or if you're targeted, do you have enough to stop the bad guy so that it costs more for them to attack you than the benefit they get out of it? I don't know. I don't know where it fits. And they're going to have to argue that in court perhaps. But the reality is, if you could come and say that we were compliant to this industry framework, we were following industry best practices based on this industry accepted guidance, then it's going to be a whole lot easier for you to stand up in court and win that argument. If you're just saying, well, I'm really smart and my tech guys are really smart, and this is what we thought we should do to protect our client information, that's probably not going to work. So you got to make sure that you're following those best practices. All right, let me share another one. And I find this interesting. AI, it's coming. Actually, it's been here. But U.S. government is using AI for unprecedented social media surveillance. According to this article, multiple U.S. government agencies are using AI and other tools to broadly track the social media of tourists and immigrants, and potentially to watch U.S. citizens as well. I mean, I just kind of assumed the government's tracking our social media, so I don't know that this is any new information. But it's also worth noting, let me get back up here to the top, that AI is fueling the biggest financial scams ever. Cybersecurity experts are fighting back. Now, what does all this mean? AI is using social media trends. AI is watching what we're doing, and yes, AI. It is AI, and I keep saying AI. And what does all that mean? And we have visited and talked about AI, and we'll probably revisit that topic in the future. What happens is that I have, say, a stack of this many papers or books that I want to review and see if I can find correlations on. That might take me 2 years to do. That also might take a computer that has been trained properly, that becomes an AI type of experience, just a few minutes to do. So what has taken people a long, long time to do, AI is now able to do very quickly. And that's whether that's our social media activity, whether that's our phone behavior, whether that's our email, whatever it is, our browsing habits, all of those things that we're doing that people have access to are now getting analyzed much, much quicker than they've ever been analyzed before. So what we need to do is to consider that when we're, first of all, trusting online. We don't need to trust, we shouldn't trust, be skeptical. But also when what you put out there, just realize that it's not just somebody that's going to see it. It's now that learning models can learn from it. Just something to consider. All right. I've talked a lot today. I went over time. I apologize, but there's a lot of news out there and a lot of news that we can learn from. I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you back next week on 10 to 10. Thank you.